Hey, Leslie.
Hello.
All right,
You have either place, any place, there's 3 options.
Yeah.
In case you were.
hi, Howard.
Hi, is that Becky?
Yeah.
My screen looks kind of frozen. No, maybe not. I don't see you. Okay, there you are. Okay.
Okay. And there's
Okay.
Susan Reyes. Hi, Les and Jill.
Hello.
Hi. And I guess we're missing Jeff, and Leslie's trying to log in, but she's coming.
I'm here.
There you are. Perfect.
I'm muting because of feedback.
And then you're going to come sit over here where your papers are, Leslie, or?
No, that's just ongoing.
Oh, okay.
I can straighten it up and give you more space.
No. I don't need it. I just thought you,
Yeah.
I was going to put it here so you could have.
Oh, that's right. That's how we did it. You're right. I don't need my phone at all.
Yeah, because your phone is good, but this is hopefully easier.
Okay.
Oh, and Jeff is here now too.
That's interesting that you
Leslie and Becky, you ready?
must be this.
Hi, Jeff.
Good afternoon.
Leslie's just getting situated.
Okay,
Sign out.
okay, we're ready?
I am, sure.
Okay, let's open the meeting. 5:33. So Susan and Howard, did you have a chance to look over the October 13 meeting minutes?
Yeah, they look fine to me.
Susan? Okay, they look fine to me, so they're approved. There is one question I wanted to ask later regarding the meeting minutes, but they're approved. Leslie, you want to do the accountant review?
There are no accountant reports. I left it in there just in case something unusual came up, but they're done after a month has passed. So we did September on October 13, and we will do October in one of the November meetings.
Okay. Okay. Chapter 61 applications.
Yes, I'm continuing on with them. The standard ones. There is one applicant who had his, it's T20, he had his property in chapter 61 along with his home. He purchased an additional 1.25 acres in the last chapter 61 recreation year and sent in his application asking to include that land in his Chapter 61 lands. I checked with David Burgess to make sure I had the procedure right and then I prepared all the paperwork and sent it to the applicant to look over to make sure this is what he wanted to do. He will be releasing his original Chapter 61 lien and filing a new lien with both properties in it and fixing a name from a standard name to a trust owner, so it cleans everything up. And that will need the approval of the board on both the lien release and the new lien. And then I would need the notarized signature of anyone, but presumably Jeff, on the new documents to be filed at the Registry of Deeds.
Okay. And to get all this documentation ready
It's all done and ready.
already, so you want me to come in on Monday?
Monday is fine. That would be great.
Okay, 11 o'clock?
Sounds good.
Okay. I'll do that. Revaluation updates and actions.
Would be not me. I have nothing to add unless Becky or you do.
So Becky, I talked to Roy yesterday, gave him the information, got him into, what's the name of this software?
Gateway?
Yeah, Gateway. Got him into Gateway. So he said he's updating all the documentation in Gateway, but he's not submitting it yet.
He
So-
said that you would, I think the DOR is going to look it over and then he would ask the board, specifically you, Jeff, to submit
Right,
the
yeah,
actual documents, right?
right. But he doesn't know how long it's going to take the DOR to review it.
Right.
So whenever that happens, then I'll go in and approve it.
Beautiful. And so I think Lauren will let us know. Roy probably will as well, but I can be in touch with Lauren and Roy to see if they can give us a sense of when that might happen.
That's fine. Okay, chapter 41C.5, do we have any update? Becky, you were going to try to look into some things?
I'm afraid I haven't had time to do that in these 2 weeks. What I do have an update on the senior exemption that we all passed at town meeting. It was now 1.5 years ago. If you recall that senior exemption that went to the state legislature, it has passed the House. It's been approved. It's going to the Senate on the 27th, which I think is that Thursday. Yeah, on Thursday, and then it's headed to the governor's desk. So we should get I believe that will be active this spring when the select board will need to make a determination on the percentage that they want the exemption to be. So that one, the big one, is in play now. It's finally moving through the legislature.
Is there any information we need to provide to the select board?
I think once the governor signs it, if the assessors will review and make a recommendation to make to the select board, because they'll need backup numbers to determine how much they think the town would be, what a prudent figure is, being the first time that this will be done.
Yeah. Okay,
So there'll be some work involved.
and then who can we,
Assessors.
is that something Roy would be able to do for us or not? How do we get that information to present time?
I can ask him, I'll ask him about it. Either
Right.
way, or maybe David Burgess.
So I assume we would be able to pull some of that information out of Gateway, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I think we might be able to do the calculations in Vision. I just haven't done it before, so.
Okay. I would have no clue. Okay. So one of the we're down to topics not reasonably anticipated 40 hours in advance. So one of the things I had was based on the meeting minutes of October 13th. It had in there that Becky, you were going to try to contact RRC.
Yeah,
Roy's
I
question
did.
about personal property.
Yes, so I contacted them, I think within a day or right after the meeting. RRC has not been actively doing personal property in the last year. So I think what we discovered, so I went back to Roy Bishop because he was the one who posed the question, because his scope of work that we paid him for included updating the personal property. We just needed to verify what was done and what wasn't done. So Roy Bishop came in last Wednesday and worked the day going through all the personal property, which the majority of our personal property are second homes at the lake, and went through and calculated all the personal property there. And that's part of the data that he's inputting into Gateway is the reports on our personal property. So we did the second homes as well as the small businesses. I believe there's about 6 small businesses in town that he reviewed and rolled forward for FY20, for this current fiscal year.
Okay. So Susan and Howard, am I missing something? I could have sworn about a year ago or so, Kevin was talking about the personal property and businesses, and he hired somebody to look into that and come up with some data.
Yeah,
Am
I
missing-
think I recall something to that effect in terms of like investigating that, but I think there's not much personal property in the
Right.
town. One of the things I recall, but and there is a certain exemption limit. I don't have it off the top of my head what it was.
Yeah, I'm more thinking in terms of there might be some, there might be some data someplace, because I remember Kevin going into this.
Oh, you mean in terms of like the personal property, like in terms of like utilities? Was that it?
That was,
That would be more significant than the residents.
Yeah, and he did hire, they did do the utilities. RRC
Okay,
did
Oh.
a full update on the utilities.
all
And
right.
that information, Roy had already found that on Kevin's computer, and that was
Okay.
utilized as the base of his report.
Got it.
It was the second homes and that he was most concerned about, because that's the majority of our personal property. And he did find Kevin had ongoing spreadsheets that he found, and he was able to utilize that information, was not 100%, but close to 100% up to date. So he was able to use that.
Okay. Okay.
all right.
Susan's right, now that I think about that. Okay. All right. Do we have any other open issues before we try to figure out our next meeting?
I-
No, Jill, my wife Jill and I are here and we would like an opportunity to speak.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I can start, Les.
Okay, Jilly, go.
Okay, yeah. So, if the board sees my frustration, I've been dealing with 41C1/2 with Kevin for over 2 years. And why has it been over 2 years? Because he kept on giving me contradictory information. So you can understand my frustration.
Mhm.
So I wrote an email to Jeff and Leslie Bracebridge and Becky, town administrator, and hopefully that email was shared with Susan and
Howard.
Howard. Thank you, Howard. And I just wanted to just go over my comments
Sure,
that I have in that. Is that okay?
sure.
Okay. So I opened up by saying I had looked at the Zoom meeting for October 13th, and here are my comments. Number one was the criteria eligibility for 41C and a half is different than 41C. Specifically, 41C and a half looks at income and not one's whole estate, as 41C does. So there's a difference. And I wondered why it was mentioned at October 13th meeting that the top assessor in the state did not acknowledge that, because I think there was some statement given that she said that why would people be, applying for 41C and a half if they can get more money from 41C, but there's two different criterias for those.
The reasons that she gave me, I'm the one who would have said that. I'm the one who went to the assessor's clerk meeting that she spoke at. And what she indicated to me is, since the town has already doubled 41C, as they are allowed to, from $500 benefit to $1,000 benefit, there would likely be little value in little benefit for an applicant, and in fact, they are apt to get less money. I only got to speak with her at the 15-minute break. She did not demonstrate any calculations to me. There is a Department of Revenue, it's referred to as an IGR, informational guideline release, that can be found on the Department of Revenue webpage. It's from April 2017, and until they are superseded, that is the current informational guideline that they have for 41.5C. It has not been superseded. I've been trying to muddle my way through that, and assessors have time to do that, since the very first part of it, which Kathleen Coleri confirmed, is that Shutesbury incorrectly approved adoption of 41C, so it is not eligible for use in this current fiscal year.
41C, I'm sorry, 41C or 41C and a half?
Yes, I apologize. So therefore, it gives us time to study that document and others longer. I'm tied up with Chapter 61 applications right now, and putting exemptions next on the list. But they do give an example of a calculation, assuming that the town's 101s, which are single family homes, that are valued at I think it was 100 million. No, it would have been 100 million. I don't know. They give a calculation, but in order for us to calculate it, and we can, getting the numbers off a gateway, in order for us to calculate that, I have to ask someone to tell me exactly how many 101 properties, residential homes, the major category, the town has. And then there's the percentage problem, what the percentage would be. But we're working toward it. It's not going to be in effect for this current fiscal year exemptions, because it was incorrectly voted anyway.
How was it incorrectly voted?
It was supposed to be done by ballot at a regularly scheduled municipal election, paper ballot at the polls. That's all in that IGR, which is really.
I did read that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
it's on the first, there's the cover page, but on the very first page, the first thing talks about acceptance.
yeah, I thought it said that it could be a ballot, like
Yeah,
may be
no,
a ballot, or
I saw that May word too. And it's saying that the select board may, the select board is the governing body that decides what goes on the ballot. They may put it on. They don't have to.
Yeah, and the select board did.
The select board.
I don't want to see, I don't want for this to appear as some kind of arguing at all. It's just that,
We don't either.
yeah, good, and I'm not. I'm just saying that the finance committee and the select board did approve of all these amendments, all these exemptions to be on the warrant. They did approve it. And I know that Becky was asked by Paul Lyons and others to consult with Kevin to flush out all these exemptions, you know? And I don't think, Becky, that you got Kevin to do that. I think Kevin was missing in action by that time, so. I remember at the May 17th meeting.
And I
where
did
Paul
request-
Lyons, yeah,
I did request all that information from Kevin. And then I followed up to discover that he had surgery and he had gotten ill. I followed up when he was better. But he forwarded the same list, which did not have the calculations. But more of a problem was he did not spot the fact that it required a ballot vote on the 41C1/2. He assumed that all of them could be moved forward and updated through a town meeting vote, and that was incorrect. And we didn't learn that until reading the IGR.
I'm so surprised that Kevin didn't know that, because, you know, he sits on the legislative, he's
Yeah.
the chair of the legislative committee in the state.
No,
You know,
I
I'm surprised, and
100% agree, and I was, I was so accustomed to him coming back and backing up all his requests or initiatives with detailed, information and spreadsheets, and I had never had him not follow through. So it was the beginning of our surprises. But unfortunately, this one means that one exemption we will fully evaluate it. I apologize. I wanted to talk to Grace and to the state about how we go about the ballot vote, but more important, it was to fully evaluate it in comparison to the other 41C. Because my understanding is you can't take both exemptions. You can only take one or the other.
right, it can be offered, both, they all can be offered, but a resident can only apply
Right.
for one, and if they're eligible for more, then they receive the one with the highest value to them. Yeah, I see Leslie saying yes, so.
Yeah.
And
And
I
I
just want to reiterate, the 41C1/2 has different criteria.
Yeah, that can be important to people. But
It
that's why
is.
I also did mention that the other senior exemption has moved ahead, because I think that might be more than either of these, depending if people qualify or not. And
Yeah,
that could be,
That's been pending for quite a while.
but
at
this
the
is
State
why
House.
it's good news that the state, we're finally, I've been pushing through the summer and following it, and I finally got word that the Senate will be entertaining it this week, and the House already passed it.
Yeah, that's great. That would be really good. So thank you. I already covered number 2. If residents of Shutesbury knew, if the residents knew about and knew and understood 41C1/2, more residents might be eligible and apply. And I was heartened to hear that there's actually money, because I was so surprised to hear that there's $40,000 overlay, but only $25,000 of it is used, like last year, and the rest returns to the general budget. And so it's not like we don't have money to entertain,
No,
and
it's
open up.
budgeted every year. Yeah.
Yeah, so, if only $25,000 worth of exemption, people, in the whole of Shutesbury, and 15,000 is returned. You know,
It's not always the same, Jill. It does change. Well, I guess the exemptions are pretty stable from what Leslie has described, but it depends on the population. If we're, the resident population is changing, and we're aging. So we're going to have to keep a close watch to make sure that we do budget enough as our population is aging too. So yeah, there have been times where there's money going back, but it's not always the case, and we have to be sure that we have enough for the exemptions.
Yeah. Do you know if 41C1/2 gets some reimbursement from the state?
Does not. From what I read, it doesn't.
Right. That was my understanding too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But please understand, it's very difficult to remain living in this town because of the cost of property taxes and now a reevaluation, and it's Leslie and I can't be the only ones struggling. I think people just don't know about possible other assistance that people might qualify for here in Shutesbury. Let me just checking out number 3. Yeah, so I already said that. Yeah, people get the higher benefit from the exemptions, no matter what they qualify for. So, even though they can only get one benefit, they're only going to get the highest one. Leslie, did you say the person you spoke with is Kathleen Kolari?
Correct. Yes, she was the one who was presenting at the clerks, and I caught her at the break.
Uh-huh.
She
So,
had told me that she was going to cover it in more detail as she went through all the options. But of course, you know what happens. Questions get asked, and right at the end, they race through the end, and she never said another word about it.
Uh-huh. So, I'd like to have it more flushed. For my own sake, I would like to have it flushed out more rather than just saying it's illegitimate.
Right. And I think that IGR is the best resource available. That's what the Department of Revenue puts out to the towns, the municipal officials to use. And as you say, or as I'm saying, as you say, it needs more fleshing out, but we do need to find out the exact number of 101 properties. We can get the total value of them on the recap sheet. And then I think there is, and I'm not 100% clear on this, but I think it also depends on the percentage that is used. And
Right.
that
That's
was the
correct.
question that.
And then a recommendation has to be made to the select board, who then has to agree.
Thank you.
That's the way I read it.
And so maybe we could do some estimates, but I think it warrants a consultant, an administrative assessor consultant to answer our questions, not me.
But when we did ask David Burgess, and he had never used it or followed up on it.
And Kathleen Kolari told me, just laughed when she asked at the beginning of the meeting which towns had approved it. And I was still unclear at that point. And I raised my hand and she looked at me and she just laughed. And she said, I thought there was only 2 towns in the state that had it. She just, well, it's not information that anybody can hang their hat on, but she just disregarded it as a viable option. I do hear you saying the criteria are different, and that's something that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, thank you. Is 41C1/2 the only exemption on the warrant that requires a ballot vote? For instance, there's local options to increase the other exemptions. to raise the income level or the time that people have lived in Massachusetts, from 10 to 5 years, to raise other, that's a local option that Kevin was recommending. I was wondering if that also needs some kind of,
He put out, as you showed me, some information in the Gazette, which
Mhm. Oh,
was
yeah.
the most comprehensive that I have seen from him. Kathleen Colery provided a document, an overview of exemptions with a lot of hot links that I have not had the opportunity to go through yet. And as I say, at some.
I went through the document that Kevin provided against the information that Kathleen provided. And I don't guarantee this, but what I saw for all the other items that Kevin had, what we voted on basically brought all those dollar amounts up to what is allowed, legally allowed.
Yeah, it's a
So I
local
don't-
option, isn't it? Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything else that would have to be voted, but again, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an expert. But just based on my review, I think the rest of it was good.
Well, that's good to know. That's good for the residents of Shutesbury. And I guess my last comment was directed to Susan, that I didn't appreciate. I was really surprised and shocked, actually, Susan,
Yeah,
that you called my comments on Nextdoor, even though you didn't know who made that comment, but you labeled it as complaining.
I don't think I responded at all to Nextdoor Shutesbury.
No, you didn't. You said at the meeting on the Zoom that I looked at, that you
Oh, yeah.
mentioned that somebody had posted on Nextdoor complaining versus reporting their experience or information that that person had. But I was really surprised that you couldn't entertain perspectives of views, that you had to label it complaining. And then you went on to also add to that as well as having negative comments about my views when I participated in the Board of Assessors meeting. And I was really surprised you did that.
Well, somebody referred to the meeting as a sham, and that wasn't very respectful, I thought. Do you think that was respectful?
Well, I think that you said as a board member, you should entertain other people's perspectives, residents' perspectives, and not be, negative about.
Well, I do, and I think, I think just think about, like, I appreciate your frustration. I think I want to say that. And, I want you to know that I'm also heading toward being elderly and not being one of Shutesbury's wealthier people. And I just think that we can interact in different ways too, rather than going on Nextdoor Shutesbury and making a broadcast that calls a meeting a sham. And I don't know, because I wasn't there, but it just really made me stand back and think, why would somebody say that?
Well, you could call me, we could have a longer conversation if you would like. But by the way, I don't know, I don't have what I wrote on Nextdoor, but I didn't use the word sham. I don't even know how to spell it. So how do you spell sham? I have the slightest idea how to spell that word. So it wasn't, you're not quoting me correctly, but.
Well, I didn't quote you
I'm
because I
sorry.
didn't speak about any particular individual, just what I saw on there. And somebody did say that. So my apologies if I assumed that was you, but I certainly didn't say any name because I didn't know that you were the
Well,
poster.
I know you weren't referring to me, but I'm just saying in general, when residents of the community have a different perspective, I think you should entertain that rather than criticizing it.
It is entertained, so I think that might be a misunderstanding. It is certainly, certainly taken very seriously.
Thank you. Okay.
You're muted.
Oh,
How's this? Does this work?
Now,
Yes?
Yep.
Okay, couple just quick comments to wind up, our participation. Number one, thank you for allowing us to participate in the meeting and to have this back and forth and this interaction with you and to entertain, our comments. And I think the key explanation for me anyway, takeaway, was part of what was incorrect or illegitimate was that the fact that somebody, Kevin or anyone, missed the fact that there needed to be a ballot vote on the 41, chapter 41 and a half. And that gives me a better understanding of what happened and why we're in some ways back at square one, although it is complicated. My other comment was just simply, I hope and trust that you all will continue with researching the chapter 41 and a half. And if there's anything we can do as citizens to help and support your efforts in that way, please contact us.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
thanks.
I think our
I have a-
last one, go ahead, Howard.
Yeah, I have a question about 41C and a half. Has it undergone, over the years, has it undergone revisions in the text? Have the numbers changed? Like, is there an original version that says just 5%?
The original one says 5%, but the select board can raise it up to 20%.
Okay, and did we ever approve the original text that says just 5%?
I don't think anybody knows.
Not from what we know.
I have kept track. I've been trying to keep track. Many of the things that were voted at annual town meeting this past May had already been in effect. And once I got into the assessor's office, because of my experience as town clerk, I started, anytime I came across a vote, I was keeping a copy of the old vote. We have never, and then we can check that also with the Bureau of Local Accounts, but the town never has accepted 41C and a half ever.
Okay, thank you.
Our effort to do so in May.
Okay, fine, sure.
By the way, Kevin told me it was, and then he told me it wasn't. And then he said he was having the town clerk research it. And he never said anything more about that to me. And then he had that whole, what's it called? To put them all together, because he couldn't verify that all of the exemptions on the warrant had already been passed. So that's why he put it all together in, what's it called, consent something, or?
Oh, late?
Maybe you're talking about the procedure where town meeting inclusively voted all
Yeah,
14 articles at once, but that doesn't mean that we had previously voted all of them.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was a town moderator procedure. It wasn't, Kevin had presented all those articles and then we elected to have them all voted at one time. The moderator worked with me to set them up that way in the warrant.
Okay, any other comments, or are we ready to schedule the next meeting? And I'm gonna have to help, Becky, you're gonna have to help me. So do I have meetings next week with the two building committees also?
I believe you do. No,
Yeah,
you have one is this week on Wednesday. And then next Tuesday, you have the library building committee meeting.
that's on a Wednesday.
I don't think we're going to meet next week anyway. It's
I know.
just a week away.
I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
because, yeah. Yeah, so if we could go for 2 weeks, that would be nice.
I'm
Yes.
away. I'm away. The 8th, I'm away.
Okay. And then 3 weeks, then I wouldn't be able to do in 3 weeks, right? Because then I would have another building committee meeting
On Wednesday. Oh, and on Tuesday,
and on Tuesday.
right.
Yeah, right now I'm running meetings Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
Okay.
But so maybe ask Susan, is there a Thursday coming up that you might be free?
I could probably do a Thursday in there. Yep.
Do
To
we
ac-
have anything urgent except whatever has to be approved for the reval? And do we have a sense of when that stuff might happen?
That hopefully will happen in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, all right.
But that takes Jeff's, yeah, Jeff will have to take care of that. So for meeting, I guess so after that, you'll need people, people might want to come talk once they start.
Right, but that's
You have to
after
get the
the
reval, you have to
yeah.
get all the
You
new
have to
values
set-
out
yeah.
to everyone. So you're gonna want to have a meeting to discuss. I'm sure issues will arise after.
I'm not sure, but that happens later. I'm not. but
Okay, we'll
I'm
talk
not
about
sure.
the timing.
I'm just saying that, yeah, there's nothing urgent in this office that can't wait even to the end of November, except that you've got Thanksgiving. But there won't be much business to meet for that I'm aware of, except for reval.
And then when the tax rate gets set and information goes out to the public, then you're gonna want to
Right.
make sure your meeting, have a meeting.
Or are we saying 3 weeks or are we saying 4 weeks?
Well, sorry, nothing.
Go for a Thursday, I don't think Susan said which Thursday she could do.
Yeah, throw out one of the dates. There, let's take a look at the calendar. We're talking about,
The 10th or,
The 17th. How's the 17th?
yeah, the 17th is fine for me.
Let's do it.
Okay,
5:30?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
great.
Okay. Let's adjourn.
So are we adjourned? Do we have to go through that?
I move that we adjourn.
I vote that I second that.
Okay,
Am I allowed to
Alright.
second it?
Yeah,
okay, so,
and now a roll call vote.
Oh, my God.
okay.
All right.
I'll
Howard,
try not to keep coming to your meetings so you can ignore these.
yeah, right. Okay, so we're gonna do a roll call. Howard. You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff- Susan,
aye.
Jeff Quackenbush, aye.
Great.
I gotta go get Coco. She's going nuts.
Okay, go save your dog. Thank you, everyone. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.